Today's session, today we are going to learn about the Azure boards. So before that, I will simply go to my account. And I hope you all were able to reach to this screen on your subscription or your account. So you will see your company name here, organization name basically, and organization settings, and maybe you would have created a new project in it. So this is how it will look like once you sign up to your Azure DevOps account. Okay, and let's go. So minimize this one at the moment. And today's topic is Azure boards. So we will be discussing about Azure boards, and like the project management methodologies we have already discussed in detail. So a theoretical part is almost there. Now these methodologies which we have already discussed will be used in Azure boards. And Azure boards is a component of Azure DevOps, which is used to manage the task and create the project, timeline, etc. So let's go and discuss about it. So Azure board is a web-based service that enables teams to plan, track, and discuss work across the entire development process. So simple words, this is a task management related component which will help us to plan, track, and discuss the work for the project. While it supports agile methodologies, so the methodologies which we discussed like agile, basic, agile, uh, scrum, and CMMI. So these methodologies called agile methodologies. So these four methodologies support, and Azure boards provide a customizable platform for managing work items. So we can manage our work item, and work item could be of the type like user story or like product backlog item or task or these all items. So these are called work items, allowing teams to collaborate effectively and streamline their workflow. So basically, because the entire team is working together, so they need to see the board, like what are the tasks, who is doing what on that particular sprint maybe, or in the entire project. So this tool can be used for that purpose. In other DevOps environment, there may be another tool like maybe MS Project, maybe Jira, maybe Trello. So these are being used. But in Azure DevOps, we are going to use the Azure boards. Okay, so mm, let's see what is there. So in Azure boards, so first function is we have work items here. Okay, so let's understand what is the work item. This is the access list of work items based on specific criteria, such as those assigned to you once you follow, maybe, and the work items you review and update it. So these are like list of work items which you have done something for them. So let's open these. Whatever track, okay. So same process mentioned here like agile, basic, scrum, or CMMI. Track work, different work item types. Okay, so like we have already discussed this part, so I will just make it, yeah. So in agile process, as we discussed that these are the work items, and first we have epic, then we have feature in it, then in the backlog we have user story and task, and when this is about the feedback or configurable, which is like we can or testers can report the bugs, and then developer can create task for to resolve these bugs. and then we have issues and bug tracking. So maybe we can create if there is any issue or anything we identify. So this is in the agile process, and user stories and tasks are used to track the work. So if you see in the backlog item, to track the work, because these are like large sort of stories or sort of work collection. So these are on the portfolio level. So to track the work, we will be using either a user story or task which we are performing in the user story. Okay, bugs track the code defects. If we identify any defect in the code, we are going to use the bugs here. And epics and feature are used to group work under larger scenario. Okay, so these are like group of user stories and tasks. Each team can configure how they, so we can have another thing here is we can have multiple teams for the project, that also we can configure here. So we'll see in coming time that how we can configure multiple teams for the project at the same level of the user story task. Okay, fine, no problem. Okay, so this is the agile process, and in basic process what we have epic, issue and task. Simple little bit compared to the agile one, it is really very simple. And issues and tasks are used to track the work. So here we are going to track the work basically, or to measure the work, we are going to use issue and task. In the previous one we were using user story and task. Okay, so this is in basic. Epics are used to group the work under larger scenario. Okay, that's it. Epic portfolio and feature portfolio backlog board requirements. Why it is like this? Okay, so here we have these work item types. Basically, categories are used to group the work item types. Okay, so epic we have, feature we have, in the portfolio, product backlog and board sprint backlog are having the user stories, issues, product backlog items. So in different, like in agile we have user story, in basic we have issues, in scrum we use product backlog items, and requirement we use in CMMI approach. Okay, task is task everywhere. So this is like comparatively it is mentioned in the basic one. Okay, so we'll look into it. Okay, work item form controls. So these are the control, like you can copy the URL for of the work item to the clipboard, and maybe you can send someone to use it, or check it, etc. Here like it will go to discussion section, it will open. So these are some common buttons around. We will be watching it when we do the hands-on. So we can see all these buttons will be used. Okay, I think this is like in more detail, but we don't have to go here. Let's say common work tracking fields. And yeah, so what are the common fields associated with the work item or task or user story, etc. So it is always having a title, which will allow you 255 characters. Okay, and assigned to means whom this work item is going to be assigned, or who is working on this item. Then the state, when the work item is created, the state is state defaults to the first state in the workflow. So like what is the status we can call, so that is the one. Maybe it's like not begin, begin, or done, or something like that. And then the reason automatically update when the state is changed. So we can change the region here. And then the area, choose the area path associated with the product or team, or leave it blank until assigned using the planning meeting. So there could be multiple areas we can define. Okay, and then the iteration is basically like a sprint in the scrum, but in agile we call it iteration. choose the sprint or iteration in which the work is to be completed, or leave it blank. So this is like optional one. Track active upon resolve close. Okay, work item. Okay, the four main states that are defined for user story in agile process. So like user story progression, we can say as new, it could have the status of new, means when we create a new item. When it is activated means the coder is working on that work item. Resolved means that is now finished but not yet checked. And closed means everything is done, finished. And removed means simply deleted. The following. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so workflow, we will understand what is the workflow of these items when we create these work items. Uh, so in basic process, we have workflow state like issue, uh, or basic process for the basically the status of issue. So what is happening here? Let's see. We add some item to backlog, and it will have the status to do. Okay, when work is started, it will be, or we can change it to doing, means someone is working on that work item. Then once the work is completed, we can mark it done. But this process in the basic approach only. Okay, this is the process. And if we move it from done to again doing, means we are basically reactivating that work. So let's say if we miss something, and we can again reactivate the same work. And if we are moving to backlog, means still we have to start it. Same way in agile. So user story, and this is the agile process. So what is the status of user story here? We are starting with the new status, and then we implementation start, it becomes active, so we can change it to active. Basically this is the developer is going to change it. So in each process is the developer, you create with the new one, and developers will pick in the iteration or in sprint, and they will be activating it when they are working. So everyone is aware that they are working on this task. Okay, so implementation, when an implementation start or coding starts, they will change it to active. The code completes and unit test pass, means they have the testing from their end, they will mark it resolved. And once accepted, your acceptance test is passed, it is closed. Okay, and removed from the backlog item. So once it is removed, it can be removed from the backlog item. So basically you can call it deleted. Okay, and next is basic we have done. So in Scrum, what will happen is the product backlog items we will see in the Scrum what is going to happen, because these are like key items which are being used in the product backlog. Okay, in basic process, we are using issue as a product backlog item. In agile process, we are using the user story, and in Scrum we are using product backlog item. Okay, so here we have status new. New status means new means it is not it is added to the backlog, but it is not yet approved. So approved by the product owner, then it will be called approved. Okay, so which one it is in the Scrum? So new to approved, and then once it is approved, committed by a commitment made by the team, so it will be said committed. Okay, and then once it is committed means almost work is done, and once work is finished, the commitment is done and the work is finished, it is marked done. So basically here after approval and committed, we can say like the work is going on here. Once the commitment is done, work is finished and it is marked done. Okay, so it can be rolled back for these reason, like from done to, if we are going back to committed, means there may be some additional work found and we have to finish this, so it can be, again rolled back, or maybe work is stopped and again in the approval state, or maybe if it is gone from here to here, means by mistake it is approved or something else is required in the approval. So this is the process in Scrum. Let's say in CMMI we have something called requirement as a work item, and that is going to be start with the proposed. So when it is in the backlog, it is like proposed. Once it is accepted by the product owner, I think, and it will become active. And then once code completed, then it is called resolved. Once resolution state is finished, means testing passed, then it is closed. Okay. If it is closed by mistake, by error or something, then it can be activated again. And here, if this new item is rejected, it will turn to close. So little bit of flow difference. And if you are joining any company, they may have their own flow. So it's not necessary, because these are like standard approach. If some companies are implementing their DevOps environment from beginning, then you will have chance to maybe implement these, train your staff for DevOps process, explain them what are pros and cons. So your management can decide any approach depending on the project complexity. So in Azure DevOps, you may have one project which is working on Scrum approach, another project may be on basic approach, another project with Agile. So you may have, any of these approach for the project management methodology. Okay, so that's it about this approach. What else we have? Okay, assigning work we will see practically, no worries. Here we can change this. So these are like drop down. We can hit and try some options here, and we will be learning about them. Okay, so let's go a long line of documentation. Code review request. Okay, this is work item type, track testing, review feedback. Okay, I think it was in CMMI, if I remember correctly. Okay, so let's go practically here and see what is. So I will delete some, basically I have these experimental projects. So let me clean it up. I can simply go to project. Summary, okay. Better to go to organization, basically, not here. I'll go to organization settings. And I'll go to projects here. And I have these projects, so I will simply delete them. To confirm this, please confirm. We have to write confirm here. Okay, so if I go to my organization again, it will start with the create project. Okay, so okay, just give me a minute. Okay, so when you create your organization, first screen will come like this, because you won't have any project in it, and you can create your first project. So let's say I'll create the project and I'll give the project name as basic dash project. This is basic project anything. And generally in the companies you keep like uh, private, because you don't want people to view this. Okay, and they can use this private link. Okay, so here we have version control Git, and here basically we have Git and TFSC, but it is not given here. But we will use here Git only. Mostly, most of the companies they use this only, and we have this approach here. So we'll first see how the basic one is. We'll click on plus create button. Okay, and it will open our first page on the project. So if you see in this breadcrumb on the top, the organization name, then the project name, then overview, and then on summary. So we are basically here on the summary one. Okay, where we will be able to see everything about this project which we are we have opened. So if I go, so when we are today we are trying to understand about boards. Boards are having work items, boards, backlog, sprint, query, delivery plan, and analytical or analytics view. So let's begin with the work item. Okay, here we can, on this interface, we can add the work items which we are going to work. So on this drop down, we can see either we can add epic, issue, and task. So as we learned yesterday's class that we have three type of work item. So on the portfolio level we have epic. On backlog level we have issue and task. So actually the developer is going to work with the task, and mostly I mean task and issue they can work, and epic is like written in the portfolio backlog, you can say, or product owner is going to write the epic that what he is looking for, and based on that maybe the product owner or scrum master or the developers they can combinedly they can work on the issues, they can create the number of issues they want to perform here. Okay, and so this is how we'll create here. So let's create one epic. So here we'll go and put the epic title. Okay, so let's see here, just for identifying I'll just give the name like one dot epic, okay, dash one or something like this. Basically most of the companies they use numbering just to identify. So if I say this is epic 1, okay, or maybe I have name, let's say for example like recruitment process, recruitment module or something like that. If I tell this, then this numbering is important, that what I have chosen, or if I look for the related task in it, this numbering will be helpful. So just for simplicity, just for understanding, I am just making it epic 1. Okay, or I can use epic dash 1, something like this. Okay, and if you see the state here, this is in the to do state. Area by default it will create the basic project area. Iteration is the sprints basically in the basic project, so we can have multiple sprints here.